Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today I'm going to talk about what it means to be anti-war because apparently everybody on the right's just immediately forgotten what it was like. It was a beautiful couple of years where people actually said things that were anti-war. Now we're off of that, right? We're moving on to more war. So basically Trump gave this speech, and in this speech he talked about the current threats Iran has made about assassinating President Trump, right? And he made this comment. He said, if I were the president of the United States right now and my political candidate who's running against me was threatened by a foreign country like Iran, I would tell Iran, if you touch a hair on their head or threaten to, I'm going to blow up all your major cities, and I'm going to, reminds me of the Borat scene where he's like, I'm going to make it so that, not even a lizard will be able to live there for 1,000 years, and the crowd at the rodeo cheers,
Not even a single lizard will survive in their desert. To show our friendship.
Anyways, but okay. So this is rhetoric, okay? And he's done rhetoric before. He was furious about the Las Vegas shooting, and he said some stupid rhetoric. He said, let's take the guns and worry about due process later. He didn't do any of that, right? And so it is rhetoric. I'm not going to judge him too heavily. He's a politician saying things. I'm not really going to judge him on that account, But let's look at this more closely, okay? So Tim Pool, who's center right, and he has a podcast, Timcast IRL, and basically he keeps asking people this question, and he says, well, okay, so what if the President Trump gets assassinated, like literally assassinated, right? And we have credible evidence that Iran did it. Do we or do we not go to war with Iran? Okay. I think this is the stupidest question I've ever heard anybody ask. Okay. Because the question is this: if President Trump dies, okay, if he dies and he's killed, and then if the FBI, who we trust implicitly, right? If the CIA, who we trust implicitly, no matter what they say, come forward and say Iran did it, are you going to believe them? Are you going to believe Netanyahu when he comes in front of Congress and says there are weapons of mass destruction? Are you going to believe Colin Powell, very respectable? I read his autobiography, a very respectable general, when he comes and says there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Are you going to believe him? And the answer is no. I'm not going to believe him. So your whole question is predicated on nonsense. So imagine this. And Tim Pool's answer is yes, we absolutely have to. We have to, right? He went from being anti-war to he like stepped on a twig. That's how little changed. And he's full on beating war drums, right? This is absolutely absurd. If President Trump were assassinated, it would be much more likely that it would be someone within the deep state, MK Ultra, whatever you want to say, some element of that would assassinate him and blame it on Iran. That's what would happen, right? That's much more likely to be true. So when you go follow the Iran war true and try to send my sons to war, you're trash. Just absolute, just warmongering trash. He's a freaking war hawk. It's insane. It infuriates me. So anyways, don't trust anything the deep state says. Okay. I mean, it's just so absurd to think about. So I asked Victor the same question, and I said, well, what do you think about this question? And his response was different than mine. His response was, well, wait, so they killed the president who was a warmonger, right? Warmonger. And that's not honestly fair because President Trump wasn't a warmonger, but let's look what he did, right? He killed Soleimani, right? We've got a whole episode on this. I'll link it below, right? But this guy, this second, third in command, he's not in political office, he's a general, but he's third in command, and he's in line to be the successor to the first in command, right? And he's beloved by his people. He's on a peace mission to get peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia. He's landing in Iraq, and President Trump assassinates him, right? Now imagine this scenario. Imagine Iran legitimately assassinated President Trump, beloved by a lot of his people, maybe the next successor to the president of the United States. Does it sound familiar? Does it literally sound familiar? It's the exact same thing. Now you could be like, whoa, hold on. Trump hasn't committed war crimes. Soleimani committed war crimes. There were thousands of U.S. soldiers that died or were lost limbs under his IED program that he was doing during the Iraq war, right? You could say that. Okay, fine. You could also, from their perspective, look at it from their perspective, right? You've got Syria, a Muslim country, right? And Trump literally said on camera, he said, yeah, we got troops there. We're in like 1/3 of the country. We're in the third that has the oil. We keep them where they have the oil because we're literally stealing Syria's oil. We kill people if they stop them from, okay, the other, well, it wasn't the other day, it was about a month ago, but there was this thing where like Syrians went into Syrian oil fields, took them over from foreign occupiers, hung Syrian flags, and we attacked them and killed them for doing it on Syrian soil. They have no right to do that. Syrians on Syrian soil with a Syrian oil field with Syrian flags is nonsense. They do belong nowhere near there. Do you see the offense from Iran's side against their Muslim brothers? Do you see the offense? So they can say the exact same thing. Well, Trump is a war criminal. And from a certain perspective, that's true. And if you look at it, if you say, what if the guy down the street from you or your brother or your son has a limb cut off because of Soleimani's IED program? I could see you saying that Soleimani was a war criminal, right? But they're both in the exact same situation. And I mean, I'm sorry, it just seems nonsense. If we had a good country, right? We would try our leaders for war crimes. Like when Osama bin Laden killed the American kid, right? No due process. He was targeting an outdoor cafe. I think it sounds like a terrorist act to me, right? Killed the American there. We would try him for it, you know? And if we lived in a good country and we were just looking at each president afterwards, we would also try President Trump for war crimes when he bombed Syria. Because I mean, I knew at the time, I'm not the wisest person in the world. I knew at the time there was no gas attack. There was no gas attack. And then we literally have it that Ivanka came crying about the gas attack to President Trump. And so he decided to blow up Syrians and murder them for a thing that's obviously a false flag on its face. It's not even something where it's like, well, let's wait 1 week and see what. No, at the time you could tell it's completely fake, right? And not because people are telling me, you could just visually look and see it's so nonsense. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here. Basically, don't support war. Oh my gosh, I don't even know why I have to say this. It just seems so common sense. I mean, if you wanted to do a war on behalf of the United States, I would be much more amenable to becoming a war hawk if it was going to gain some advantage for the United States, but it's not. It's for Israel. If we go to war with Iran, it is for Israel. There's nothing to gain. We're not going to put real estate development in. Well, whatever, those giant Vanguard companies might make a ton of money, but I really rightly care less. Even if your 401k is in there, I just really don't care, honestly. But basically, we're not even doing anything for the best interest of America. This is so frustrating. We're just doing it for Israel. And it's just so obvious. And don't do it. Don't be for war. If you're going to be for war, at least be for war for something that actually is of interest to your country. And just don't even do that. Like, I mean, if you wanted to, you could more likely talk me into invading Mexico and kicking everybody out and moving Americans down there than to invade Iran. It's insane. Or to support Ukraine, or to support Israel in this whole thing. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Don't support war. That's what I got for you. It's an obvious thing. Tomorrow I'm going to do another villain episode. It's going to be interesting, I think. It's a guy whose biggest thing was he went on a daring peace mission, and he ends up getting life in prison for crimes against peace at the Nuremberg trials. True story. It's ridiculous, but I'm going to tell it to you tomorrow. Hope to see you there.